Hello, I'm Deborah Goggin with the Department of Research Support at A.T. Still University. In this presentation, I will explain how to write the results section of a journal article. So what is the purpose of the results section of a journal article? The results is for reporting the numerical outcomes of your study. Only this data should be reported in the results section. Because the results section should only have results, do not include methods or discussion section content in the results. Because information about how you collected your data or analyzed outcomes should already be in the methods section, it is unnecessary to repeat that information in the results. Similarly, comments about what your results mean should not be included in this section. The discussion section of an article is intended for discussion about your results and their meaning. Using words like interesting or notably in the results section should be avoided as well, because those are comments on your results. So what are the basic components of the results section in a journal article? Typically, the written text about your study's numerical data is supported with visual representations of that data in tables, figures, or a combination of both. For example, tables are particularly useful when you have a large data set of study outcomes or when it is necessary to report exact values. Because the study already occurred, be sure to use past tense verbs when writing this section of an article. When writing the results section, use the text and reported numerical data to highlight your study's most important results. In the text, report only the results you most want to stress for readers and use data from your tables or figures to support those results. Finally, make sure to check the requirements of your target journal for correct formatting of the results section and of your tables and figures. If the journal has specific instructions about how to report your numerical data, make sure you write your results following those instructions. For example, p-values and mean and standard deviation outcomes can be reported in several different ways. So verify that you are reporting these outcomes as instructed by the journal. So how exactly should you structure the content when writing your results section? The first paragraph of the results generally reports summary data about the study participants or experimental sample. It is important to provide readers with this information so they have context to better evaluate your study results. For example, results from a study with only 10 participants likely has less generalizability than a study with 100 participants. The rest of the results section is usually structured by the order of your study variables, which should have been described in the methods section. Typically, this is also the order used to describe the statistical analyses in the methods as well. When you use the same order for study variables throughout all sections of your article, you help your readers better understand your study. In general, all raw data outcomes for your study variables are reported before comparison analyses of those outcomes. Readers need to know what the raw data results were to better understand and evaluate the comparisons of those results. Although it is important to report data from your tables or figures in the results text, try not to exactly repeat all results from a table or figure in the text. Journals don't like this kind of repetition. If you exactly repeat all data in both places, then there is no need for the table or figure. However, it is important for good publication practices that you report all raw data for your study variables in the article. That is the main purpose of tables and figures. In general, tables are mostly used to report that data because it is easier to provide large amounts of exact numerical data in a table than a figure. For example, if your study surveyed participants then you would want to use a table to report their responses to each survey question. Next, we'll consider the general conventions for reporting your study data in the text of the results section. Most medical science journals follow the recommendations of the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors and the guidelines from the American Medical Association. Typically, raw study results are reported or summarized using frequency and percentage or mean and standard deviation. This type of summary data should be reported together. If you report a percentage without the numerator or denominator, then readers can't evaluate your percentage. A result of 50% means something very different if 5 of 10 people make up that 50% versus 500 of 1,000. This same principle applies to mean and standard deviation. Reporting this data together helps readers evaluate your reported mean. For example, a mean of 2.5 with a standard deviation of 2.0 likely has less scientific rigor than a mean of 2.5 with a standard deviation of 0.5. The example sentence shows how this information is generally written in the results section. Note, the total number of participants, the denominator, and the number of participants who completed the survey, the numerator, are included in the sentence. When reporting numerical data like frequency and percentage in the results section, the numbers should be reported together. It is harder for readers to evaluate your data when data that should be reported together are separated by words. When you are reporting several study variables in the same sentence, report the numerical data for each variable with the wording of that variable. Don't wait until the end of the sentence to report the data for all variables and then use respectively wording. That type of data reporting makes it harder for your readers to evaluate each outcome separately. See the example sentences. In this example, please note that the standard deviation is reported in square brackets. According to the American Medical Association, standard deviation should be reported in parentheses. But because the reported data is already in parentheses, square brackets are used instead. Another common convention of results sections is related to how you refer to or call out tables and figures in the text. In general, the first sentence in a paragraph that reports data from a table or figure has to have a call out at the end of the sentence. You should not wait until the end of the paragraph to refer your readers to the table or figure. Further, table and figure callouts should always be placed in their own parentheses and should not be included in the parentheses that report data. This successive use of two sets of parentheses, one for results and one for a table or figure callout, is standard practice in results sections. See the example sentence. Please note that commas are used between the individual data outcomes, and significant wording was not used even though we are reporting a statistically significant result. In general, you should not use significant wording in the results section because you are reporting the exact p-values. When using tables to report your results, it is a good idea to avoid using a table for a small data set. Because journals tend to have limits on how many tables and figures can be included with an article, it is generally better to avoid using this kind of table. See the example table. Please note the standard practice is to indicate frequency in tables and figures with the NO period abbreviation. Also, like your results text, frequency and percentage and mean and standard deviation should be reported together in the same column of the table. To continue from the previous slide, small data sets are usually reported in the results text only. In the example, all the content from the table on the previous slide has been reported in a single sentence. By making this simple change, you free up a table for reporting more complicated data results. A final tip for writing the results section text involves the use of commas and semicolons when reporting data in parentheses. As mentioned previously, the standard convention is to use commas between different types of reported data in parentheses. However, when the convention for reporting a specific type of data includes the use of a comma, as for the odds ratio and confidence interval in the example, then the semicolon is used between each type of reported data in the parentheses. The semicolon helps readers visually group which numerical data applies to which data type. For more information about writing the results section of a journal article, please refer to the recommendations for the conduct, reporting, editing, and publication of scholarly work in medical journals from the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. Most medical science journals follow these recommendations. This concludes this Department of Research Support presentation about how to write the results section of a journal article. We hope this information has been helpful. Are you an ATSU faculty researcher? Do you have a research project that you would like assistance with? The Department of Research Support can help. Our staff can assist with research coordination and project management, statistical analysis, and manuscript editing. You can find out more about our department through the provided URL.